Well, good morning. Welcome to the ACCG General County Government Policy Committee meeting. We are on May 12th at 10 a.m. and we are broadcasting live for the first time our committee meeting. And we are located today in the Henry County Government Center, and we thank Henry County very, very much for opening up their beautiful facility for our committee meeting. This is the second year we have met in this facility, this committee, and it's, I hope, easy access for most people to get to, and we certainly appreciate Henry County opening up the meeting for us today. My name is Liz Hausmann. I am the chair of the committee. Our vice chair is Cindy Mills from Forsyth County. Unfortunately, she is unable to be with us today as they are in the middle of their budget meetings, and she had to, of course, focus on her duty at home, and so she will not be with us today. I'm not sure if anyone from Henry County might be joining us. If they are, well, in their absence, we certainly do thank them for allowing us to be here today and appreciate that. A couple of housekeeping items. If you have a cell phone, please turn it off. We do have refreshments over here on the side of the room, full facilities. We do not plan to take a break unless the meeting goes long and you people indicate otherwise that you would like a break. I'd be happy to accommodate that should that arise. And we will go ahead and get started. We also will just be discussing our legislative agenda today, or our proposed legislative agenda. This is the first meeting. There will be no votes taken. This is information and discussion only today. And also we will, at the end of the meeting, ask you if you have anything additional that you want to have us discuss for the upcoming legislative session. So in light of that, I'm just going to read a little recap of our meeting purpose, and then we'll get started. As we said earlier, we are live on the web, and this is the first year we have done that. We'll be filming the meeting, and it will be live on the internet for county commissioners and staff that could not make it here today in person. They will also be allowed to ask questions, and we will strive to answer them as they come in. There are instructions on the webinar sign-in. We're going to do our best to keep up with any questions so that they will be pertinent to the discussion that we have. Again, the meeting purpose. Today's meeting is to review, revise, and consider ACCG's policy platform positions for the 2015-16 General County Government Committee. I would like at this time to go around the room and ask all of the members here, the committee members, to introduce themselves. And hopefully we'll get that on camera as well. So we'll start right here at this side of the table, please.
James Swafford, Dawson County Commissioner.
David Barlow, Fayette County Commissioner.
Joanne Thompson, Marketing and Field Services for ACCG.
Merv Waldrop, Burke County Administrator.
April Howard, Administrative Services. Marsha Johnson, I'm the Pitts County Administrator.
Melvin Walker, Peach County Board of Commissioners.
Bob Thomas, Delaware County Administrator.
Clint Mueller, ACCG Legislative Director.
Larry Westmore, Baldwin County Commissioner. Henry Gray, Baldwin County Commissioner.
I'm Martin Jones, County Commissioner.
Butch Hall, Pulaski County Commissioner.
Daniel Cummings, Middle Georgia Regional Commission.
Crystal Bailey, Middle Georgia Regional Commission.
Phil Sutton, Habersham County Manager.
Jim Grubiak, ACCG staff. Melvin Davis, County Commission Chair, Oconee County.
I'm Tom McMichael, Vice Chair, Hausmann County Commissioners and past president of ACCG.
Tommy Lyon, Chairman of the Elbert County Commission.
Paul Christian, County Manager, Pierce County, Georgia.
And in the very back of the room, please.
Kevin Little, Chairman of Walton County Board of Commissioners, ACCG President.
Katie Howard, River Valley Regional Commission.
Michael McPherson with the Georgia Municipal Association.
Linda Brunt with the Cobb County Attorney's Office.
Joe Schroyer, ACCG Assistant General Counsel.
And additional staff over here in the back of the room.
Sean Adams, ACCG Associate Legislative Director.
Enos Owens, ACCG staff.
F. Rodriguez, IT.
And I'm Todd Edwards with ACCG.
Well, I'm very impressed with the attendance today. I appreciate the large crowd that we have. I believe we also have a few that are signed in over the internet, so this is very exciting. And I also want to just make note that we not only have a representative from the Georgia Municipal Association, which enhances our city and county working well together effort, and I appreciate you being here. But we also have the ACCG president with us today, which does show the importance of the committee work, and thank you for being here as well. And if at any time you want to weigh in on anything, please feel free to join us.
We will let him set up his table if he would like.
Would you like to sit up here? Well, come on up if you'd like to. A few years ago, the ACCG adopted a biennial policy process in order to mirror the policymaking process of the Georgia General Assembly. Accordingly, if any significant changes are going to be made to our ACCG platform, this is the year to do it. Next year, we'll be looking at fine-tuning the platform to address developments from the 2015 legislative session. After the proposals are made today at today's meeting, ACCG staff will draft policy positions. The committee will meet again near the end of July to formally vote on these proposed changes. Following the second meeting of the committee, our policy suggestions will be submitted to ACCG's Policy Council meeting on August 22nd, and the membership for final consideration and adoption at the Legislative Leadership Conference in September in Athens, Clarke County. Everybody get that? All right, well, let's get started. We do not have a speaker, correct?
That is correct.
So we will have our meeting information given by our staff member here for the committee, Todd Edwards. Thank you for being here today. Appreciate it. And so I will just be asked, what I will do is I will go through the list, which you should have in your packet, correct?
Well, we're going to start off with just a couple of legislative update items.
All right,
then
so you
we'll
want to
move
do
over
that first?
Yeah.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, I'm Todd Edwards. I have the pleasure of staffing this committee and also lobbying on behalf of the policy positions contained within this platform at the Georgia General Assembly. A couple of big bills, there were a lot from last legislative session addressed that are somewhat addressed to the platform. One of the larger ones impacting general county government was House Bill 60. This was the omnibus gun legislation from the 2014 General Assembly. I say from that year because there will be more. I think this is an ongoing effort in Georgia. While there are still restrictions and there's still a requirement to have a weapons carry permit in Georgia, I believe that proponents of this legislation will not stop until both of those are entirely eliminated from statute. House Bill 60 was again, the legislation that passed last year. There are three main provisions. There's probably about 25, 30, perhaps up to 40 provisions overall that are significant, but three in particular impacted counties. We had our policy committee meet within session to actually take a position on these. And the first is this legislation will allow weapons to be carried into local government buildings. We had argued that this decision should be made by each respective county or be it city government on behalf of the community and the citizens they serve. We were unsuccessful in that argument. They will be allowed in government buildings so long as there is no access to the building is not restricted by screened by security personnel. This isn't 24/7 or during regular business hours that you have to have security personnel in. The bill started off that way, but we were successful in getting language that stated at any time you restrict access with security, then you could deny or prohibit guns within that local government building. Second, the guns will still be prohibited inside of courthouses. Courthouses is defined in statute as a building occupied by judicial courts and containing rooms in which judicial proceedings are held. So again, while it will allow them in local government buildings, courthouses remain prohibited. Third, one provision that we were not successful in getting removed from the bill is that any aggrieved individual are empowered to sue the county, not only the county, but county staff or county officials for any alleged violation of this law. And by violation, I meant this, you're pretty much, local governments are preempted in all facets of gun carry in the state of Georgia. Any lawsuits will have to, will deal with your violating any of these state preemptions. Before, when the bill started off, we reported that it would allow not only any aggrieved individual, but any outside organization, which are these interest groups that like to sue. That was removed from the bill, so it's just an aggrieved individual which remains, and that does have the right. But remember, that is not only suing the county, but any staff or any elected official within the county for any alleged violation. If that individual is successful, then the county will pay the court cost and attorney's fees for those bringing suit. If the suit is not successful, unfortunately, the county cannot get reimbursed attorney's fees and court costs for those that brought it fraud, a wrongful lawsuit. Third, as a provision that was of concern to our law enforcement personnel, is that law enforcement cannot detain those carrying a weapon to discern whether or not they are actually legally licensed to do so. So your law enforcement, your sheriffs can no longer stop an individual, see if they see them carrying a gun, and solely for that reason, ask them whether or not they have a permit. That individual does not have to tell them whether or not they have a permit. If there's another alleged crime taking place, then yes, they may, but solely for the point of seeing a weapon does not give grounds to ask them for a weapons permit in order to stop them if they refuse to do so. Again, those were the three major provisions. There's a summary in y'all's folders of different ones. Of course, it covered schools, bars, churches, etc., but those were the three provisions and how they will impact counties. This law does take effect July 1st, so please make sure and have discussions with your attorneys regarding what is screened, security personnel, etc. I mean, basically, this is going to boil down to a policy decision made by your Board of Commissioners as to whether or not you want to pay the additional cost to have that security screening in place to keep guns prohibited from local government buildings. House Bill 60.
I think we have a question.
Any questions? Merv.
Todd, I got a
Merv from Burke County. Yes, sir.
specifies buildings. What about open recreation facilities? I wasn't clear. I read through the law, but I wasn't sure how that pertained to baseball games, football games, etc.
Sure, and we do have attorneys in the room that I'm sure are going to correct me if I'm wrong, but if you look at the definition of government building, that is the key in state statute. All those would be government, but not only building, but facilities. And unless you have security personnel in place, weapons will be allowed. Again, I say guns, but this is a weapons bill. So unless you are screening them, everyone who's ingress into that facility, then it will be a government building and guns will be allowed. And we've had that question. Mr. Clint Mueller, ACCG.
Just want to let everybody in the group know that we have been approached by our state attorney general. He's made the offer to help clarify if there's any areas of this new law that your attorneys feel like that questionable. The attorney general would like to funnel all those through ACCG, so please contact Jim Grubiak's office and make sure that you make him aware of any of these issues. I know, for instance, a good example right now, we're dealing with some counties that contract with private entities that come in and provide different events at their government facility. And some of those contracts specifically exclude any types of weapons from being carried into the facility while the event is happening. So the question is, are they now going to have certified post police officers or sheriff deputies there? In the past, they've just had security personnel, which obviously is a lot cheaper way to screen instead of having a post-certified police officer. So we're getting some of those kind of questions. So if you get those kind of questions from your attorney, again, please pass those along to us. We'd like to sort of centralize these questions.
And we've been getting calls, and a lady concerned with the county has senior centers, and whether or not the guns, they have a policy in place that prohibits guns or weapons in senior centers, whether or not they could maintain that policy. The answer is no, not in a government building. There were questions as to whether or not this would impede their ability for some federal grants that are conditioned on safe environments, et cetera. Again, that would be a good question for your attorney or for y'all to forward to us so that we could get the Attorney General's ruling on that. The next big issue, or one of them from this committee that came out of last legislative session, was House Bill 176. This has been an issue that's been around for a couple of years, and y'all have a handout within y'all's folders. This was the cell tower, started off as a free-for-all that would have significantly impacted local zoning, land use, and other regulatory decisions on cell towers within your community. That was in 2013. We'd gotten together over the summer, last summer, with the wireless providers, with our friends at the Georgia Municipal Association, and a few other stakeholders to come up with this compromise language, which is drastically scaled back. I see that Cobb County is in the room. Thank you for your legal department. They were very involved with helping us, as was Gwinnett and a few others, work through some of the legal language. The summary is in there. It's, again, it's a few things that you'll want to take into consideration, but I don't think this is too pressing on county governments. It does not impact your zoning or land use. It just has some timelines in there to abide by, particularly in the process of acting on, either accepting or denying an application for both a new cell tower or a co-location on an existing tower. If y'all have any questions on that, please ask, but I know last year at this time that was a very lively debate transpiring within this committee on what sort of compromise, and we're thankful that that language was passed as is. Another issue that got a lot of attention during the legislative session as we put something out to our county managers on the listserv is there was a bill, House Bill 1042, that's House Bill 1042. In short, and I don't believe there's anything in your folders about it, but this bill came from our auctioneers and would have, in short, required that every county sell, whether it be excess vehicles, anything you do on eBay, anything you do on GovDeals, anything you do online, any sale by the county would fall under a category under which you would have to hire a certified, licensed auctioneer and pay them for their services, a significant cost to the county in order to sell this. We vehemently opposed. That bill was dropped. Well, that provision of the bill was dropped. It did pass, but it didn't impact us in any way. But the author of the bill, which was Katie Dempsey from Northwest Georgia, has pledged to come back next legislative session. So stay tuned. We will continue to oppose the bill, but I think that anyways, y'all can save money by selling on the internet. I mean, if you want to hire an auctioneer, that's fine. I mean, we want that to remain an option, but anything that requires y'all to go through that cost and an additional layer, we would be opposed and intend to oppose it next legislative session. But when a legislator tells me they're going to bring it back, I give them the courtesy of respecting that, taking them for the word, and informing you all in the process. The other legislation, yes, sir.
Why is she so gung-ho about this bill? There's no big benefit to, unless she's got some hidden benefits.
Well, I do know that the Auctioneers Association was quite instrumental in both drafting and presenting and backing the bill. I've heard that her husband and son are auctioneers that are heavily involved in the process. But I would hesitate to say that there's any direct correlation to that relationship and the sponsorship of the bill, Mr. Little. Of course, I'm here to judge policy on its merits only, and on its merits, it was bad news for Georgia counties.
Well, as you presented it, it would cost the counties a lot of money. Most of us use GovDeals or something like that now to force us to do that. It's ridiculous. But I appreciate your effort. And we'll continue to be behind you.
Thank you, sir.
On the policy issues.
There were a couple of other issues coming out of last legislative session, but I think we're going to touch on them as we actually go through the platform. I've got notes by each one. Y'all don't have them in yours, but I'll bring up a couple of issues and we'll go through that. And with that, Madam Chair, I believe we're ready to start our next portion of today's meeting.
Okay, so we will wait and go through anything that failed in the last session at a later time, or?
If it doesn't get brought up and there are any questions.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. All right, well, our process will be then that I will call the item. I'll ask Todd if he will give us a brief explanation, and then I'll open up the floor for discussion. That work?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Is this the first item?
Yes, it is.
All right, the first item is under administration and governance, state and federal mandates, fiscal analysis. Todd?
This policy position has been around for a while. Basically, and it's also part of our core principles on unfunded mandates. Just a couple of things, like, it's currently in there. Currently, like, there's a $5 million aggregate statewide impact fee that needs to go out for anything that impacts lower county governments. We ask that it be reduced. We also ask that the reporting requirements be added on to regulatory actions that cost more than $5 million. We'll keep pushing for this. We haven't had much success, but staff doesn't recommend any changes in this particular policy. With that, are there any questions or any suggested changes from the membership here today?
Seeing none, this is all going to be open for your comment later. Should you come up with some other issue that is not brought forward today, feel free to contact Todd or myself or anyone on staff with that comment. So we will move on to the next item, school growth.
School growth, again, this is a relatively new policy platform, but we're just asking that school boards, when in planning for a new school, involve the county governing authority in the process, because ultimately there'll be attendant costs, road widening, cut-throughs, traffic lights, et cetera, borne by the county, and we're just asking that public hearings be held and that schools collaborate with county commissions in the process. That's in the platform. No recommended changes from staff. Are there any questions or suggestions?
Melvin.
Yeah, Todd, let me ask this question. You know, there's a, well, I guess, a policy